The alien mercenaries froze in horror as they studied the mission target file. Humans. They were hired to attack humans. Commander Antares, leader of the Crimson Fang squad, slammed his fist on the strategy table. Memories of fighting alongside courageous human allies in the devastating galactic war flooded his mind. Eldoris Prime, the squad's target, was no ordinary mining colony. It harbored the last survivors of a ruined Earth. Antares wrestled with this dishonorable assignment. His personal code, forged in the crucible of war, demanded he never harm humans. Loyalty to his battle brothers pulled him in the other direction. While Antares infiltrated the colony disguised as a miner to investigate, the squad's employer, ruthless Zephyr Industries director Orcs, schemed to ensure the mission's grim completion by any means necessary. In the colony's bleak mines, Antares met Sean Turner, charismatic leader of the human rebels resisting Zephyr's tyrannical exploitation. Turner revealed the harrowing injustice and brutal conditions inflicted on the colonists slaving away to enrich their corporate masters. As Antares' empathy for the humans' plight grew, so did his determination to uncover the truth. But time was running out. Korax, impatient with the Crimson Fang's hesitation, had unleashed a sinister rival merc squad to annihilate the colony and bury Zephyr's secrets in the ashes. The stage was set for a deadly showdown that would test the battle-hardened Crimson Fang's mettle and force a fateful choice between honor, brotherhood, and humanity's flickering hope for survival. Antares, now undercover as the miner czar, trudged through the dank, dimly lit tunnels of the Eldoris Prime mines alongside Sean Turner and the other human rebels. The earthy scent of oxidized iron filled his nostrils as his calloused hands gripped the worn handle of his pickaxe. With each thrust of the dulled blade into the unyielding rock, he felt the fatigue and despair that hung heavy in the stale air around them. During brief respites from the backbreaking labor, Antares listened intently as the rebels shared stories of Zephyr Industries' oppressive rule. They spoke of meager rations that left their stomachs growling, of the constant surveillance that stripped away any sense of privacy, and of the unrelenting work shifts that pushed them to the brink of exhaustion. One evening, huddled around a small, flickering lantern in the depths of the mine, Sean revealed the rebels' audacious plan. "We're going to steal a shipment of ore," he whispered, his eyes gleaming with grit. "With the money from the sale, we can buy supplies, weapons, and maybe even bribe some of Zephyr's goons." Antares hesitated, the weight of his true mission bearing down on him. But as he looked into the faces of the weary, hopeful rebels, he found himself nodding in agreement. "I'll help," he said, his voice gruff. "But we need to be smart about this. Zephyr won't take kindly to anyone messing with their profits." Far from the grim depths of the mines, in the Crimson Fang's base camp, Varro pored over the mission briefing files, his keen Solonian eyes searching for any discrepancies. Something about this assignment felt off, but he couldn't quite put a claw on it. He turned to Lyra, who was meticulously cleaning her sleek plasma rifle. "Lyra, have you noticed anything strange about this mission?" The Vixian warrior paused, her ears twitching thoughtfully. "Now that you mention it, the target does seem unusually well defended for a simple mining colony, and the intel on the rebels is sparse at best." Varro nodded, his suspicions confirmed. "I think there's more to this than we've been told. Keep your eyes open and your weapon ready. I have a feeling things are about to get complicated." As the day of the heist approached, Antares and the rebels executed their carefully crafted plan. They slipped into the ore processing facility under the cover of darkness, their footsteps masked by the hum of heavy machinery. Sean led the way, his movements precise and deliberate, honed by years of fighting against Zephyr's tyranny. The team quickly located the shipment of ore, but as they prepared to make their escape, a piercing alarm split the air. "Security patrol," Sean hissed, his eyes widening in alarm. "We need to move, now!" Antares reacted on instinct, his combat training taking over. He directed the rebels through a maze of corridors, using his knowledge of the facility's layout to evade the pursuing guards. As they neared the exit, a group of heavily armed Zephyr soldiers blocked their path. In the chaos of the firefight that ensued, Antares pulled Sean aside. "There's something you need to know," he said, his voice urgent. "I'm not really a miner. I'm Commander Antares of the Crimson Fang Mercenaries, and we were hired to attack this colony. Sean's face contorted in a mix of shock and anger, his rifle aimed squarely at Antares' chest. You lied to us? You were going to kill us all? Antares held up his hands in a gesture of peace. I was, but not anymore. The Crimson Fang has a code of honor, and we never harm humans. I'm here to help you, Sean. I promise. The rebel leader hesitated for a long moment, searching Antares' face for any sign of deceit. Finally, he lowered his weapon. I don't fully trust you yet, but if you're willing to fight alongside us, we could use the help. As Antares and the rebels made their hard-won escape with the stolen ore, they had no idea that a far greater threat was brewing on the horizon. Korax, enraged by the mercenaries' lack of progress and the rebels' brazen defiance, had unleashed the obsidian blades upon Eldorus Prime. Captain Drax, the Everayan commander of the rival mercenaries, grinned savagely as his dropships tore through the colony's atmosphere. He was known throughout the galaxy for his brutality and ruthless efficiency, leaving a trail of shattered worlds in his wake. The first explosions rocked the colony, sending plumes of fire and debris into the air. Antares and Sean watched in horror as the obsidian blades began their merciless assault, cutting down colonists and rebels alike with cold precision. Antares knew he had to act fast. He raced to warn Sean and the rebels of the impending onslaught, his heart pounding in his chest. He found them hastily erecting barricades and distributing weapons, their faces grim with drive. The obsidian blades are here, Antares shouted over the din of battle. We need to buy time for the colonists to evacuate. I'll lead a counterattack to draw their fire. Sean nodded, his grip tightening on his rifle. We'll fight with you, Antares. This is our home, and we won't let Zephyr take it without a fight. As the obsidian blades closed in, Antares and the rebels charged forward, their weapons blazing. They met the enemy head-on, engaging in a desperate, bloody struggle for survival. Antares fought with a ferocity he had never known, driven by a newfound sense of purpose and a deep, gnawing guilt for the role he had almost played in the colony's destruction. Just when all seemed lost, the roar of engines filled the sky. Antares looked up to see the familiar silhouettes of the Crimson Fang's dropships descending upon the battlefield. Varro and Lyra emerged from the lead ship, their weapons at the ready. Apologies for the delay, Commander, Varro said, a wry smile on his feline features. We had some digging to do to uncover Zephyr's lies. We're here to make things right. With the combined might of the Crimson Fang and the rebels, they drove back the obsidian blades, their blood mingling on the scorched earth of Eldorus Prime. But even as the last enemy fell, Antares knew that this victory had come at a terrible price. As the smoke cleared and the colonists emerged from their hiding places, Antares and Sean surveyed the devastation. The once thriving mining colony lay in ruins, its buildings shattered and its people mourning the fallen. This isn't over, Sean said, his voice heavy with grief and anger. Zephyr won't stop until they've crushed us completely. Antares placed a hand on the rebel leader's shoulder, his eyes hardening with determination. Then we'll stop them, together. The Crimson Fang will stand with you and the colonists. We'll expose Zephyr's crimes to the galaxy and make them pay for what they've done. As the sun set over the ruined colony, casting long shadows across the battle-scarred landscape, Antares knew that the fight for Eldorus Prime and for the future of the human race had only just begun. The acrid smell of smoke and ozone lingered in the air as Antares surveyed the ruins of Eldorus Prime. Debris crunched under his boots as he made his way through the battered streets, his keen eyes scanning for potential threats. Sean fell into step beside him, his face etched with weariness and drive. We need to fortify our defenses, he said, gesturing to the crumbling buildings around them. Zephyr won't let this stand. Antares nodded grimly. Agreed. We'll start by reinforcing the perimeter and setting up early warning systems. As they worked tirelessly to strengthen the colony's defenses, Antares dispatched scout teams to monitor Zephyr's activities. The Crimson Fang's dropships became a common sight in the skies above Eldorus Prime, patrolling for any signs of incoming threats. In the heart of the colony, Varro took charge of training the human rebels. The feline warrior's voice rang out across the makeshift training grounds as he barked orders and instructions. Move faster. In real combat, hesitation means death, Varro growled, his tail lashing as he circled a group of panting rebels. Again, from the top. Sean watched from the sidelines, a mixture of pride and concern on his face. They're improving, he murmured to Antares. But will it be enough? Before Antares could respond, a young rebel rushed up to them, her eyes wide with excitement. Commander, we've received a transmission. Someone wants to speak with you and Sean. Says it's urgent. Moments later, Antares and Sean huddled around a crackling holographic display. The image of a slender, blue-skinned Aldarian woman flickered into view, her luminous eyes darting nervously. I'm Zara, she said, her voice low and urgent. I used to work for Zephyr Industries. I have information that could help your cause. Sean leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Why should we trust you? Zara's image wavered as she took a deep breath. Because I've seen the depths of Zephyr's depravity. What they're doing on Eldorus Prime. It's happening across multiple colonies. I want to help expose their crimes. Antares and Sean exchanged a long look. Finally, Antares nodded. What do you have for us? Over the next few hours, Zara's revelations painted a horrifying picture of Zephyr's widespread abuses. As the evidence mounted, a plan began to take shape. We need to hit them where it hurts, Sean said, his voice hard. Their headquarters on Nexus, if we can access their central database. Antares finished the thought. We can broadcast the evidence to the entire galaxy. The preparations moved swiftly. Antares and Sean assembled a strike team, including the sharp-eyed Lyra and a handful of the most skilled rebels. As they loaded gear onto a Crimson Fang dropship, a commotion erupted nearby. A group of miners, led by a broad-shouldered man with a shock of red hair, approached. Sean, the leader called out, his voice carrying a note of challenge. What's this I hear about some suicide mission to Nexus? Sean's shoulders tensed. Cal, this isn't the time. It's never the time, is it? Cal shot back, his eyes blazing. You're risking everything we've fought for on some foolhardy crusade. The argument escalated, drawing a crowd. Antares watched as the seeds of discord took root, threatening to fracture the unity they'd worked so hard to build. As the dropship lifted off, carrying the strike team toward their perilous mission, Antares couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving more than just Eldorus Prime behind. The colony's fate now hung in the balance, caught between the looming threat of Zephyr's retaliation and the growing storm of internal strife. Little did they know that on Nexus, a team of shadowy figures was already moving into position. Led by the infamous operative known only as Phantom, Zephyr's elite assassins prepared to spring their deadly trap. The strike team's dropship streaked through the star-studded void, carrying with it the hopes of Eldorus Prime and the weight of a galaxy's future. As Nexus loomed larger in the view screen, Antares gripped his weapon tightly, steeling himself for the battles to come, both on the corporate world before them and the embattled colony they'd left behind. The strike team's arrival on Nexus was met with eerie silence. As they crept through the shadowy corridors of Zephyr Industries' headquarters, Antares couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. His fears were confirmed when alarms blared and security forces swarmed their position. In the chaos that followed, Zara's voice crackled over the comm. I've breached the main server room, uploading the evidence now. Moments later, her transmission cut off abruptly. Antares and Sean shared a grim look, knowing the price of her sacrifice. Their mission complete but at terrible cost, the team fought their way back to the extraction point. As they lifted off from Nexus, Antares' communicator lit up with an urgent transmission from Eldorus Prime. The colony was under attack. Corax's retaliation had been swift and merciless. A massive Zephyr fleet, led by the notorious Admiral Xerxes, had descended upon Eldorus Prime. As the strike team's ship approached the planet, they were met with a wall of Zephyr warships, their weapons primed and ready. Orbital blockade, Lyra muttered, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. They've cut off all supply lines and communications. Antares gritted his teeth. We need to find a way through. Our people are down there. But as they searched for a weakness in Zephyr's defenses, Another transmission came through, this one from the colony's surface. Cal's face appeared on the monitor, his eyes wild with a mixture of fear and triumph. "Sean, you coward," he spat. "While you were off on your fool's errand, I've taken control. The colony is mine now, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect our people from Zephyr's wrath, even if it means surrendering to them." Sean lunged at the screen, his face contorted with rage. "Cal, you treacherous—" The transmission cut off abruptly as their ship rocked with the impact of enemy fire. Alarms blared as Lyra shouted, "We've got incoming! Zephyr fighters on our 6!" With no other choice, Antares ordered a retreat. As they limped away from Eldorus Prime, the weight of their failure pressed down on them. They had exposed Zephyr's crimes, but at what cost? Days later, having evaded Zephyr's pursuit, Antares and his team regrouped on a nearby asteroid base. They pored over fragmented transmissions from the colony, piecing together the dire situation. Cal's coup had thrown Eldorus Prime into chaos. Those still loyal to Sean and Antares had been forced underground, literally. They'd taken refuge in the vast network of mining tunnels beneath the colony, establishing a hidden base from which to mount their resistance. "We need to go back," Sean insisted, his hands clenched into fists. "Our people need us." Antares nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Agreed, but we can't do this alone. We need allies." He turned to Varro, his old friend and second in command of the Crimson Fang. "I know I have no right to ask this of you, but—" Varro held up a hand, cutting him off. "Save it, Commander. The Crimson Fang stands with you. Always has, always will." As they began planning their return to Eldorus Prime, a new transmission came through. The face that appeared on the screen was unfamiliar, an Aldarian woman with piercing eyes and a grim set to her jaw. "I am Kira," she said without preamble. "Zara was my student. I have the skills to help you breach Zephyr's blockade, and I have a score to settle. When do we leave?" With renewed hope, Antares and his allies prepared for the perilous journey back to Eldorus Prime. As they readied their ships and weapons, Antares couldn't help but wonder what challenges awaited them on the embattled colony. The real fight, he knew, was just beginning. As Antares and his team approached Eldorus Prime, the gravity of their situation became painfully clear. Zephyr's blockade loomed before them, a seemingly impenetrable wall of warships jam-packed with weapons. "We need a miracle," Sean muttered, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. As if in answer to his plea, a new transmission crackled through their comms. A gruff, authoritative voice filled the bridge. "This is Admiral Grendel of the Earth Remnant Fleet. We've picked up your distress signal and stand ready to assist." Antares and Sean exchanged shocked glances. Grendel was a legend, presumed dead after Earth's fall. His sudden appearance was nothing short of extraordinary. Moments later, a small but formidable fleet of human warships dropped out of hyperspace, their sleek hulls gleaming in the starlight. Grendel's flagship, a battle-scarred dreadnought, took point as the fleet formed up alongside Antares' battered vessel. "Admiral," Antares said, relief evident in his voice, "your timing couldn't be better. We need to break this blockade and retake the colony." Grendel's weathered face appeared on the screen, his eyes sharp and calculating. "I have a plan, but it's risky. We'll need to reactivate the colony's primary reactor and convert it into an ion cannon. It's our best shot at crippling Xerxes' fleet." Antares nodded grimly. "I'll lead a team to the surface. We'll get that reactor online." "Negative," Grendel countered. "You're needed here to coordinate the space battle. I'm sending my best operative, Arya, to lead the ground team." As Grendel outlined his strategy, Antares felt a glimmer of hope. It was audacious, perhaps even foolhardy, but it was their only chance. Hours later, Antares watched from the bridge as Arya's dropship pierced Eldorus Prime's atmosphere, escorted by a squadron of fighters. The space around them erupted into chaos as Grendel's fleet engaged Xerxes' forces, creating a distraction for the ground team's insertion. On the surface, Arya and her squad, including several of Antares' most trusted operatives, fought their way through Zephyr's ground forces. The once peaceful mining colony had become a war zone, its streets littered with debris and bodies. As they descended into the treacherous mining tunnels, Arya's voice came through Antares' comm. punctuated by the sound of gunfire. We've encountered heavy resistance in the lower levels. Zephyr's trying to sabotage the reactor. Antares gripped the edge of his command console, feeling helpless as he listened to the sounds of battle. Hold the line, Arya. We're counting on you. The space battle raged on, Grendel's tactics keeping Xerxes' forces off balance. But Antares knew it was only a matter of time before the admiral regrouped and brought his full might to bear. Suddenly, Arya's voice cut through the chaos once more, triumphant despite her evident exhaustion. Reactors online, powering up the ion cannon now. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the planet's surface, cutting through Xerxes' fleet like a scythe. Ships exploded or drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by the ion burst. All ships, press the attack, Grendel bellowed. Drive them back! As Xerxes' remaining forces began to retreat, Antares allowed himself a moment of relief. But it was short-lived. A new transmission from Arya shattered the brief calm. We've suffered heavy casualties, she reported, her voice thick with grief. Zorgax, he didn't make it. We need immediate evac and medical support. Antares closed his eyes, the weight of command settling heavily on his shoulders. They had won the day, but at a terrible cost. As he began coordinating rescue efforts, he knew that the real work of rebuilding Eldorus Prime and safeguarding humanity's future in the stars was only just beginning. The celebration on Eldorus Prime was short-lived. As the last of Admiral Xerxes' ships vanished into hyperspace, Antares received an urgent transmission from Arya. We've intercepted Zephyr communications, she reported, her face grim on the console. They're not giving up. Corax is planning something big. Antares felt a chill run down his spine. How big? Extinction-level big, Arya replied, her voice tight. They call it the Extinction Protocol, a virus designed to erase all traces of humanity from Zephyr's databases. The implications hit Antares like a physical blow. Without records, humanity would lose all rights and protections in Zephyr-controlled space. They'd be erased from history, left adrift in a hostile galaxy. We need a plan, he said, his mind racing, and we need it fast. Over the next few days, Antares watched as Arya assembled an unlikely team. Kira, the Aldarian hacker who'd helped them breach Zephyr's blockade, arrived first. She was followed by Thana, a hard-eyed woman who now led Zorgax's mercenary squad. Together, they devised a daring infiltration of Zephyr's central command on Nexus Prime. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. Arya's voice crackled over the comm as her team's freighter approached Nexus Prime. We're entering the atmosphere now. So far, so good. Antares gripped the edge of his console, watching the feed from the freighter's external cameras. The gleaming spires of Nexus Prime's corporate district rose into view, a forest of steel and glass. Remember, he said, you're looking for any sign of the Extinction Protocol. We need to know what we're up against. Copy that, Arya replied. Kira and Thana are in position. We're moving in. The next few hours were agonizing. Antares could only listen as Arya's team fought their way through Nexus Prime's security. The sound of blaster fire and shouted orders filled the command center. Suddenly, Admiral Grendel's voice cut through the chaos. They've spotted us! Fall back to... The transmission dissolved into static. Grendel, Antares called. Arya, what's happening? There was no response. Antares felt his heart pounding in his chest as the seconds ticked by. Finally, Arya's voice came through, breathless and strained. We've reached the data core. Grendel. He didn't make it. He held them off so we could get through. Antares closed his eyes, allowing himself a moment of grief for the fallen admiral. Make it count, he said softly. We will, Arya promised. The next few minutes were a blur of technical jargon as Kira worked to hack Zephyr's systems. Antares could hear the strain in her voice as she battled the corporation's formidable AI defenses. Suddenly, alarms blared through the comm channel. What's happening? Antares demanded. It's Corax, Arya shouted over the din. He's activated the Extinction Protocol early. It's spreading through the system. Can you stop it? Antares asked, dreading the answer. There was a long pause. When Arya spoke again, her voice was heavy with the weight of an impossible decision. There's only one way. We have to wipe everything. All of Zephyr's data, including what's left of humanity's records. Antares felt the world tilt beneath him. Everything they'd fought for, every scrap of their history and legacy, gone in an instant. But the alternative was unthinkable. "Do it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He heard Arya relay the order to Kira. There was a moment of tense silence, then a low hum that built to a deafening roar. "It's done," Arya said, her voice hollow. "Zephyr's systems are dark. We're getting out of here." As the team's ship lifted off from Nexus Prime, Antares stared at the view screen, watching the planet's lights flicker and die. They had won, but at what cost? Days later, as Eldoris Prime struggled to come to terms with their Pyrrhic victory, a scout ship brought unexpected news. Other human colonies were emerging from hiding, emboldened by Zephyr's defeat. Antares stood with Arya on a balcony overlooking the recovering colony. "What now?" he asked. Arya's eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the first rays of dawn were breaking. "Now," she said, "we rebuild. We find those other colonies, and we take back our place in the stars." The dawn of a new era for humanity was interrupted by the urgent beeping of Antares' communicator. He exchanged a worried glance with Arya before answering. "Sir, we've detected a massive fleet entering the system," reported a breathless ensign. "It's not Zephyr." Arya's brow furrowed. "More refugees?" "Unlikely," Antares muttered, already striding towards the command center. "Not in those numbers." As they entered the bustling nerve center of Eldoris Prime's defenses, a holographic display flickered to life. The newcomers' ships were unlike anything they'd seen before, sleek, organic shapes that seemed to flow through space rather than cut through it. "We're receiving a transmission," announced the communications officer. A deep, rumbling voice filled the room. "I am Karok, warlord of the Iridian clans. We have come to honor an ancient debt." Antares and Arya exchanged surprised looks. The Iridians were notorious isolationists, rarely venturing beyond their own territory. "This is Antares, leader of Eldoris Prime," he responded cautiously. "What debt do you speak of?" "Long ago, humans fought alongside my people in the Galactic War," Karok explained. "Today, we return the favor. Our fleet stands ready to aid your rebellion against Zephyr." The command center erupted in a mix of excitement and suspicion. Thana, who had been silently observing from a corner, stepped forward. "It could be a trap," she warned, her hand resting on her blaster. "The Iridians aren't known for their altruism." Arya considered this for a moment before responding. "We need allies, Thana. Zephyr's forces still outnumber us. If Karok is genuine, this could turn the tide." After a tense negotiation, an uneasy alliance was formed. Karok's fleet took up defensive positions around Eldoris Prime, their presence a deterrent against immediate Zephyr reprisals. Weeks passed as the rebels integrated their new allies and prepared for the inevitable Zephyr counterattack. It came sooner than expected, and in a form none of them had anticipated. Alarms blared throughout the colony as Kira's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression grim. "We've intercepted Zephyr communications. They've activated something called the Infinite Starforge." Data streamed across the display, showing a massive space station unlike anything they'd ever seen. As they watched, it began producing ships at an impossible rate. "At this rate of production, they'll overwhelm us in days," Antares said, his voice tight with worry. Arya's mind raced, analyzing and discarding plans until one crystallized. "We need to take it out. A small team, posing as contractors, while Karok's fleet provides a distraction." Thana nodded grimly. "I'll lead the strike team." "And I'll handle the cyber warfare," Kira added. The plan was set in motion. Karok's fleet engaged Zephyr's forces in a massive space battle, drawing attention away from the Infinite Starforge. Meanwhile, Thana's team, disguised as maintenance workers, infiltrated the massive station. Inside, they navigated through labyrinthine corridors, narrowly avoiding patrols. Kira worked feverishly to hack into the station's systems, her fingers flying over her portable terminal. "I'm in," she whispered triumphantly. "But something's wrong. The security protocols are adaptive, evolving faster than I can Her words were cut off by a piercing alarm. Metallic footsteps echoed down the corridor, growing louder by the second. "We've been made," Thana hissed, drawing her weapon. "Kira, keep working. We'll hold them off." A horde of combat drones rounded the corner, led by a towering figure that was more machine than organic. Volskara, Zephyr's cybernetic security chief, raised a gleaming arm that transformed into a plasma cannon. "Intruders detected," she intoned, her voice devoid of emotion. "Commencing termination." The corridor erupted in a storm of laser fire and explosions. Thana and her team fought desperately, but they were outmatched and outnumbered. "Kira, we need an exit," Thana shouted over the din of battle. "Almost there," Kira replied, her voice strained. "I'm uploading a polymorphic virus. It should—" The station shuddered violently, throwing everyone off balance. Alarms blared as systems began to fail catastrophically. "What did you do?" Thana demanded. Kira's eyes were wide with a mix of triumph and terror. "I overloaded the main reactor. This whole place is going to blow. We need to move." As they ran for their lives, the station began to tear itself apart around them. Thana found herself separated from the others, face to face with the relentless Volskara. The cybernetic security chief lunged forward, her augmented strength nearly overwhelming Thana. They grappled at the edge of a yawning chasm, debris raining down around them. Just as Volskara gained the upper hand, her cybernetic eyes flickered. Kira's virus had finally reached her systems. Thana seized the moment, delivering a powerful kick that sent Volskara tumbling into the abyss. Thana sprinted for the escape pods, her lungs burning. She could hear the ominous rumble of the reactor reaching critical mass. As her pod jettisoned from the dying station, she watched in awe as the infinite Starforge exploded in a spectacular burst of light and energy. Back on Eldorus Prime, the mood was bittersweet. They had dealt Zephyr a crippling blow, but at a terrible cost. Half of Thana's strike team was dead or missing, including Kira. Karak's fleet, while victorious, had suffered heavy losses. Arya stood before a gathering of human and Iridian leaders, her face etched with purpose. "Today, we've proven that united, we can stand against Zephyr's tyranny, but our fight is not nearly finished." Before she could continue, a young technician burst into the room, his face pale with fear. "Commander, we've detected a colony ship entering the atmosphere. It's releasing some kind of synthetic virus." Arya's blood ran cold as she realized the implications. Korax had played his final, terrible card. As reports of the first infections came in, she knew they were facing extinction. She turned to the assembled leaders, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "We need a cure, and we need it fast. Otherwise, we'll have no choice but to evacuate Eldorus Prime. Our war with Zephyr has just become a race against time." Arya's words hung in the air as alarms blared throughout the command center. The synthetic virus spread rapidly, infecting colonists with ruthless efficiency. Chaos erupted as panicked civilians flooded the streets, desperate to escape the invisible threat. "We need to evacuate now," Thana said, her voice tight with urgency. "Every second we waste costs more lives." Arya nodded grimly. "Admiral Grendel, prepare your ships for immediate departure. We'll save as many as we can." The next hours blurred into a frantic rush of activity. Thana coordinated teams to sweep through the colony, gathering survivors and funneling them toward the waiting ships. Medical personnel worked tirelessly, triaging the infected and administering what little treatment they could offer. As the evacuation progressed, Arya stood at the heart of the command center, orchestrating the exodus with stubborn persistence. Reports flooded in from all sectors, each one bleaker than the last. "Sector 7 is overrun," a breathless lieutenant reported. "We've lost contact with the extraction team." Arya's fist tight. "Seal it off. We can't risk further spread." The weight of each decision pressed down on her, lives hanging in the balance with every order given. As the last shuttles prepared to depart, Arya took one final look at the colony she had fought so hard to protect. Eldorus Prime, once a beacon of hope, now stood as a testament to Zephyr's cruelty. Aboard Admiral Grendel's flagship, the survivors of Eldorus Prime huddled in crowded corridors and makeshift shelters. The ship's medical bay overflowed with the infected, their agonized cries echoing through the decks. Arya conferred with Grendel and Karok via holographic projection. "We need a safe haven," she said, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing commands, somewhere beyond Zephyr's reach. Karok's alien features twisted into what might have been a grimace. "My clan's homeworld, Dornaxis, stands ready to receive you. Our defenses are formidable, and our scientists may be able to aid in developing a cure." Before Arya could respond, the ship's sensors blared a warning. A swarm of small, fast-moving objects appeared on the tactical display, closing in rapidly. "Hunter drones," Grendel barked. "Zephyr must have hired mercenaries to finish us off." The fleet shuddered under the assault of the unmanned attackers. Explosions bloomed in the void of space as ships fought desperately against the relentless swarm. Amidst the chaos, a familiar face appeared on the bridge. Kira, battered but alive, clutched a data drive in her hand. "I have it," she gasped. "The virus's source code. We can beat this thing, but we need to get to Dornaxis." Thana's voice crackled over the comms. "I have a plan to take out those drones. Permission to lead a boarding party against the mercenary flagship?" Arya hesitated for a split second before nodding. "Do it. We'll clear you a path." As Thana and her team launched their daring assault, Arya worked with Kira to begin decrypting the stolen data. The ship rocked with each new impact, a grim reminder of the battle raging outside. "We're approaching the Dornaxis system," Grendel announced, "but those mercenaries are still on our tail." Arya looked up from her work, her eyes burning with persistence. "Then let's give them a proper welcome. Signal Karok's reinforcements. It's time to end this chase." The battered human fleet limped toward Sanctuary, the fate of their species hanging by a thread. As Dornaxis loomed before them, Arya allowed herself a moment of hope. The real fight for humanity's survival was just beginning. Arya's eyes snapped open as an urgent beep cut through the silence of her quarters. She tapped her wrist communicator, instantly alert. "Commander, we've intercepted a transmission." Kira's voice crackled through the device. "You need to see this." Minutes later, Arya strode onto the bridge of the flagship, her face a mask of concentration. The remnants of their fleet hung in the void around them, a patchwork armada of human and Iridian vessels. "Play it," she ordered, and Kira's fingers danced across the holographic interface. A flickering image materialized before them, a man with piercing eyes and a neatly trimmed beard. His voice was filled with warmth and hope as he spoke of a place called Sanctuary, a hidden world where humans live free from Zephyr's iron grip. Arya's heart raced. Could it be true? After the devastation of Eldorus Prime, the thought of a safe haven seemed almost too good to be true. She turned to Admiral Grendel, who stood studying the tactical display with a furrowed brow. "What do you think?" Grendel stroked his chin thoughtfully. "It's risky, but we're running out of options. Our supplies won't last much longer." Thana, who had been silently observing from the shadows, stepped forward. "My team can scout ahead. Make sure it's not a trap." Arya nodded, her mind made up. "Do it. We'll follow with the main fleet." "Karok," she addressed the Iridian warlord's hologram, "can we count on your support?" Karok's alien features twisted into what might have been a grin. "We've come this far together, human. We'll see it through." The journey to Sanctuary pushed their battered fleet to its limits. They navigated treacherous, uncharted regions, dodging gravitational anomalies and stellar debris. Twice they were ambushed by Zephyr hunter-killer squads, sleek ships that materialized from the darkness of space with weapons blazing. Thana's mercenaries proved their worth, executing daring hit-and-run attacks that kept the enemy off balance. Grendel's tactical brilliance shone as he maneuvered the fleet through the chaos, while Karok's Iridian warriors fought with a ferocity that left even the hardened human veterans in awe. After weeks of grueling travel and tense battles, they finally arrived at the coordinates specified in the transmission. A dense nebula cloud stretched before them, obscuring their sensors. "Careful," Arya cautioned as they edged forward. "This could still be a—" Her words were cut short as the nebula parted, revealing a breathtaking sight. An entire solar system lay before them, ringed by a network of defense platforms that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. A new transmission crackled to life, and a man's face appeared on the monitor. He introduced himself as Zaid, leader of Sanctuary's ruling council. "Welcome, brothers and sisters," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "We've been expecting you." As the fleet moved into the system, surrounded by Sanctuary's formidable defenses, Arya allowed herself a moment of relief. They had found a new home, a place to regroup and plan their next move against Zephyr. But as they approached the main colony world, something felt off. Thana caught Arya's eye, a look of concern etched on her face. Before either of them could voice their suspicions, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple contacts," Grendel shouted, "emerging from stealth all around us." The view screen filled with the sight of a massive Zephyr armada, dwarfing their own fleet. Zaid's face reappeared, his warm smile replaced by a cold, calculating look. "I'm sorry," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "But Zephyr made us an offer we couldn't refuse." Arya's mind raced as she realized the full extent of the trap they had walked into. She turned to her crew, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "Battle stations," she ordered. "This isn't over yet." "Battle stations," Arya ordered. "This isn't over." The bridge erupted into frantic activity as crew members rushed to their positions. Grendel's fingers flew across the tactical display, coordinating the fleet's response. "Shields up! All ships, evasive maneuvers!" he barked. The first salvo from the Zephyr armada slammed into their defenses, rocking the flagship violently. Sparks showered from overloaded consoles as the ship's hull groaned under the assault. Arya gripped the command chair, her mind racing. They were outgunned and surrounded, but she refused to accept defeat. "Kira, can you hack their systems?" The young tech specialist shook her head, frustration evident on her face. "Their defenses are too strong. We need more time." "Time we don't have," Thana growled, eyeing the tactical display with growing concern. As if to punctuate his words, another barrage of enemy fire tore through their formation. 2 escort frigates disintegrated in silent explosions, their crews lost in an instant. "Admiral, get us out of here," Arya commanded. Grendel's hands danced across the controls. "There's no clear path. We're boxed in on all sides." Arya's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the battlefield. Their fleet was scattered, taking heavy losses with each passing moment. She knew they couldn't win this fight. Not here. Not now. "All ships initiate emergency jump protocols," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Scatter to the pre-designated rally points. We'll regroup and strike back when they least expect it." As the remnants of their fleet began to vanish into hyperspace, Zaid's smug face reappeared on the screen. "You can run, Arya, but Zephyr will hunt you to the edges of the galaxy. There is no escape." Arya met his gaze with steely perseverance. "We'll see about that," she replied, cutting the transmission as their own ship prepared to jump. The bridge shuddered as the hyperdrive engaged, stars stretching into streaks of light. They had escaped immediate destruction, but at a terrible cost. Days later, Arya stood before a gathering of her most trusted advisors in a hidden outpost far from Sanctuary's treacherous embrace. The mood was somber as they took stock of their losses and limited resources. "We lost nearly half our fleet," Grendel reported grimly. "Supplies are critically low and morale is shaky at best." Thana leaned against a bulkhead, his face a mask of nearly unleashed rage. "We should strike back immediately, hit them before they can regroup." Arya shook her head. "We're in no shape for a frontal assault. We need a new strategy." Kira cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. "I've been analyzing the data we've gathered on Zephyr's operations. There might be a way to cripple them, but it's risky." As Kira outlined her plan, Arya felt a spark of hope ignite within her. It was audacious, perhaps even suicidal, but it offered a chance to turn the tide. "We'll need every advantage we can get," Arya said, her mind already formulating the details. "Thana, I want you to assemble an elite strike team. We're going after the heart of Zephyr itself." Thana's eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Just point me at the target." Arya turned to Admiral Grendel. "Prepare the fleet for a series of hit-and-run attacks. We need to keep Zephyr off balance while we make our move." As the others filed out to begin preparations, Arya found herself alone with Karok. The Iridian warlord studied her with his alien gaze. "This plan of yours," he rumbled, "it carries great risk." Arya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "It does, but we're out of options. Will your people stand with us?" Karok's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "We've come this far together, human. We'll see it through to the end." As Arya left the meeting, her mind raced with the enormity of what lay ahead. They would strike at the very core of Zephyr's power, a daring assault that would either spell their doom or pave the way for humanity's liberation. The ship's corridors bustled with activity as the crew prepared for the battles to come. Arya allowed herself a moment of reflection, thinking of all they had lost and all that still hung in the balance. She reached her quarters and activated a secure communication channel. It was time to call in every favor, every scrap of intelligence, and every potential ally they had left. The next phase of their war against Zephyr was about to begin, and Arya intended to make it count.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.